Good morning and welcome to The Big Show and TheBigShow.tv. It's a Tuesday morning, which means we have with us from the therapy room, the one, the only, Dr. Geraldine Tan.
Good morning.
So drama.
Good morning, Dr. Jerry. How are you?
Morning, Angel. Very, very interesting week so far.
Oh, yeah?
Interesting in a good
Tell
way
us.
or a bad way?
It's almost back to the whole circuit breaker feel where I've thrown everyone at home now. So I'm home alone in my office for now. I've only got one other person coming in.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
This is actually good for you, because you work so hard. So, at least you get to chill out for a little bit, a couple of weeks, and then it's back to your busy schedule again.
I know it's busy, my dear.
But it's
in the
online
office.
busy.
Everybody's at
home, right?
online.
Online.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
all
So she's
the
still-
other colleagues.
Do you
I
find
see.
it? Do you find it harder to? So, do you do your therapy online or do you do it in person?
Both at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for online therapy, do you find it more difficult to get your message across?
It depends on. So some would definitely prefer online. I don't prefer online.
Okay.
But for some clients, it really works. They find it more conducive. They find that they don't have the hassle of rushing to and fro. So that helps them. But most of them find it a bit difficult because, we talk about like in the space, in the therapist space, but when you're at home, you're in the home space.
Yeah.
So some people find it very dangerous, or they find that it's not safe enough. It's not private enough.
Not a safe space. Yeah.
I completely understand. I'd rather be on your sofa than talk to you.
Stop it, Glenn.
from home.
But it's true because you go into a therapist room and your mindset is I'm in this room. I'm here to open up. I'm here
Yeah.
to get help. It's a very different beginning to anything.
It's almost like walking into that room is like a different portal where you're
Yes.
allowed to say things and you're allowed to
Yes.
show
Yes.
your feelings and emotions,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Like if I walk into Jerry's room, it'll be like walking into
again.
sunshine.
Into the abyss.
Okay. No.
She said abyss, I said
Into the
sunshine.
abyss? Wow.
Jerry's going to give you a hard time.
Okay.
Oh no,
Jerry, so today we're
Yes.
going to talk about our children and something that's really important, I feel. I mean, having had a multitude of them, developing resilience in your children.
So that they
Yes.
don't become weak adults. Is that it?
No. Actually, there's always a misconception. I think resilience has evolved to become quite a bad word. And I thought I wanted to kind of, break that myth a little bit. So taking the whole opportunity of this pandemic, and we say that we need to build resilience, we need to push through, but our children also need to deal with the whole situation, right? So I thought it would be fun to kind of talk about it, and that what are we actually looking out for, right? So resilience is, we think it's bad, but it's like stress. Stress is not bad, but it's been used so widely, and it's used in a way that connotes negativity. But stress itself is good. You and I need stress so that we can do our work well.
Okay.
Yeah. But okay, so then when we do anything, we have stress. When we face any adversity, we face any situation, we have stress. And typically, it will balance itself out. However, there are times where we're not permitted to balance ourselves out. What do I mean? Prolonged stress. So if a child is in that mindset that one test after another test, and then I have an exam. So 1 week after another month, that child has prolonged stress. So the body never has an opportunity to rebalance itself. Or currently, now we are in the pandemic. So one day after another week, after another month, we are just subjected to this whole climate of stress. So how then do we help ourselves through? I thought that was very interesting to help us through this period of time.
Okay. But with children, it is a little different. I think we should deal with that. How
Yeah,
we deal with this
absolutely.
with kids. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you if you know a kid is stressed out, the moment the kid, comes to see you. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you
How do you
know how stressed out the kid is? Okay, we'll continue to talk to Jerry about this on thebigshow.tv. Meantime, here's Dr. Alban on The Big Show. So how do you know a kid is stressed out? If a kid is stressed out?
So we always like to, greet them from the whole reception area, and you can literally see this person just collapsed, just very. It's hard to describe. You feel that they are really, really small,
Like the life is sucked out of them?
a bit, or they can be quite prickly. So they're your angry teens, or your angry children, who send out the vibe, "Don't touch me."
So what you're saying is there are different kinds of signs to show that a child is stressful, or even an adult. They're the ones that withdraw. They're the ones that are really quiet, and then they're the ones that act out as well, right?
Yes. Although there are those that you cannot see at all, so the undercurrents are there, and you look at them and they're a picture of calm, but when they're in your room, they suddenly just, break down.
Oh, right.
Jerry, I want to give you an idea. I don't know whether
Yes.
it's a good idea or not, and I'm not joking about this, right? Because yesterday when we were talking to Natalie, right? Remember we were talking about heart rate monitoring.
Yes.
Right? Do you and others in your field analyze your patients through heart rate monitoring? Because you can then tell how stressed out the person is. Because if your heart rate is low and consistent, the person is naturally calm, right? If the person has consistent a consistently high heart rate, it means that the person is
Stressed.
a little stressed, and perhaps maybe blood pressure levels are also high, because the higher your heartbeat, consistently, the higher your blood pressure as well.
Yeah.
So, in your field, would something like this be relevant?
There are machines out there that actually measure stress. So what you just said, right? Your heart rate, the BP, the different levels, the different cortisol levels and things like that. Yeah.
Right.
So there are machines out there, but they cost a lot of money.
Right.
Yes,
Now, I was just
yes.
thinking for the parents, because some parents, they're guessing, right? How's my kid feeling? Is my kid really stressed out, or is he just, pretending to be all right?
I think parents are. It's a little different, the story. Angel, why don't
But
you
yeah,
go
no,
first?
but speaking of parents, I mean, do parents play a very big role in stressing the kids out, especially these days? With so much need to excel, with so much need to be number one and to always be better than the rest, your cousins, your friends, and your schoolmates and stuff like that. Are parents also play a big role in this, in causing the
So
stress?
you're asking whether they are the constant factor
Yes.
in causing them that adversity. So the
you
adversity
said
is
that, yeah, not me.
I think parents have a very delicate role to play. We need to encourage them to do well in life, but sometimes in doing so, we don't realize the impact we have on them. So that's how I would put it, because more and more I realize, not more and more, but there's always two sides to the coin. The kid have a story, the parents have a story.
So how can parents lay off then? Because it is something that is constantly on parents' minds. If it's not coming from the children or the teachers, it's coming from their own peers. How well did your kid do in school?
Yeah.
How what kind of score did they get?
I think
and
it's
stuff
a
like
it's a
that?
performance issue.
It is.
Because
So
for most parents, right, they want to be proud of their kids. If their kids are underperforming, this irritates them.
And it reflects. They feel like it reflects on them being bad parents. I didn't do well enough. I didn't raise my child
Yeah.
properly. My child is not smart enough and stuff like that.
Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong. Glenn brought up the point of underperforming. Every
Yes.
child is different.
Yeah.
I
What
know,
do you
that's
mean
No,
underperforming?
and that's the
Parents
thing, you
don't
see.
think that way.
Parents have very high expectations of their child, of their children.
And they
you know what I
compare
mean?
too much.
Exactly.
Then
So,
you-
so parents are different, right? Like, I know what kind of a parent I will probably be. I will be the kind of parent that will be really disappointed if my kid is underperforming. And I thank God I don't have kids.
For that
You know, as a
reason,
result of it,
yeah.
I'll be stressing myself out and I'll be stressing the kid out
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
You know, but I admit that I will
Will be
probably
the-
be a parent like that. You see, you know what I mean? You may not be.
I'm not.
You know,
I'm not that
FD,
kind of parent at
but
all.
that's because you're a different,
Different person.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to put it out there for all the parents, okay? Resilience is independent of intelligence.
Yes.
And resilience does not have a grade put onto it. I'm going to put it out there.
Yes, I agree.
Resilience does not have a what?
A grade.
Put on it.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't. And resilience is more than just performance. Resilience is the ability to handle whatever life throws at you.
But which is why I'm saying, right, I understand like where Jerry is coming from
Yeah.
and where you are coming from, but there are different parents.
Yeah.
There are parents who are extremely ambitious by nature. And so they expect that of everyone in their family as well, you see.
Yeah,
It's not a good thing, but it's
It is who they are.
Yeah.
I hate to keep going back to parents, but it starts with the parents because everything that the child is a reflection of upbringing.
Yeah.
Right? So if the child is stressed, if the child is not as resilient, if the child is whatever, without using too many words, it is because the parents have steered them that way as well, right?
Okay, so the parents play a very huge part. So today we're going to give them a lot of homework.
Oh, good.
Because there are 7 areas that they need to look at besides the academic grades. Okay.
great.
This one you mentioned on
Yes.
air, Jerry.
Great,
You mentioned
great.
the 7, okay?
Great.
So we'll
Okay.
save this for when we go
Yeah.
on air because I think
Okay.
it's
I
important.
think she can mention the 7 and then you can detail the 7 when we go off air.
Yeah.
So that, right?
got
So you
30
mentioned the
seconds.
7 first, and then we can
can go into
explain a
detail.
little bit more when we go off air. But never mind, like, you try to explain as much
Yeah.
as
As much
possible.
as
We'll see
possible,
whether.
yeah.
Are we on air or off
No,
air
we're going to
now?
go on air.
We're
Now
gonna
we're
go
on
on air.
Facebook.
Yeah. So we'll have about about 4 minutes or so, when we go on air.
Get as much in as possible.
Yeah, so we'll get as much of the explanation for the 7 points. We have Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room today, and we're talking about resilience, how to build resilience for your child.
So, Jerry, there must be some sort of, formula is the wrong way. Building blocks, maybe?
Yep, so there are 7, but before we go into the 7, now we are on air, as Glenn reminded all of us. So I want to say that resilience is independent of the child's intelligence level. Before I go into the 7, okay, so 7. The first one, competence. So there are 7 C's, yeah? Competence, confidence, connection, character, contribution, coping, and control.
I forgot the first one.
Yes. That's why Angel is writing down. You see?
I only managed to get 6. You went too fast, but it's fine.
Oh, competence, confidence,
Confidence,
connection, character, contribution, coping, and control.
Coping is the one I didn't get. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So there are 7 areas that now parents have to think about and say, how do I build these 7 areas? And it's big words, but not as difficult as we think they are. I mean, competence. So competence in what? So, the child is competent in certain areas, but are we pushing them in an area that does not fit them? So that's where I think I agree with what FD is saying. Some children are more inclined in certain areas and not so inclined academically. So if we put pressure in the wrong places, they will break. But if we permit them to grow their competency where they can, is a total different ball game altogether. And I'm getting goosebumps because I remember so many children who really blossom and grow. You know, when we take that foot off the accelerator pedal in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think
like
this
that,
is where the parents fail. When they try and push their kids in a direction that the kids are not built for.
Because a lot of parents want to live their lives
Yeah.
through their children.
Yeah.
You know,
Or-
do things that they didn't manage to do.
Or the parents have not spent enough time
with the
discovering their child.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yes,
You
correct.
must know your child.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sean?
It's a work on your strengths versus focus on your weaknesses kind of deal, right, Dr. Jerry?
I think it's more exploration. So strength and limitations is one way to look at it. But I think, isn't it exciting if you have a child to figure out who this child really is? I think as
Yes.
a parent, that's the most amazing journey that I've ever set on.
Yes.
I see FD smile. I love
it.
his
I love it
smile.
because it's such a it's so fulfilling, not only for the
Yeah.
parent but for the child, because the child goes, Mom and Dad are interested.
And I love doing what I do.
Yeah.
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 Instead of why do I have to do this thing just because you tell me I told you so? You
Yeah.
know, that you have to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Won't the parents be like, you're just a child, you don't know what you like yet. You're still growing, you're still learning.
Yeah, I would be like that. I would tell the child that.
Yeah, you don't know what you like yet, so now learn everything.
Yeah. Because at the age of 5, you know, the kid might want to be a fireman, right?
No.
Yeah,
You know, so-
absolutely. But the first, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Jerry, but the first 7 years are the most formative years of a child's life, right?
Yes.
Anything that's taught within that 7 years pretty much follows them for the rest of their lives.
Well, there's exponential growth during that period of time. They are developing at that time, you know. So the parents would expose them to many different things, but it doesn't mean that you are set for life after this 7 years. No
Okay.
way.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you expose the kid to all these things, you know, and for the parents with more resources, they can expose their kids to even more things.
Yes.
To everything,
I feel
yeah.
that's more confusing for the kid, no, actually.
It is, yeah.
Okay, when we come back, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what happened to me,
Okay.
and maybe that can help some parents, and maybe Jerry will agree or disagree.
All right. Meantime, on the big show, here's George Michael with Father Figure.
So Jerry, tell me if this was right or wrong. Yes, we want to expose our children to as much as they can. We want to help them grow academically. We want to help them grow socially, and we push them. We do. We try to get as much information into them, but we've got to keep our eyes open and watch for the pattern that will form. This will show you where your child is going, where your child is more
Inclined.
Don't forget to look out for that pattern.
Yeah.
Because if that pattern is laziness, then you can correct it. If that pattern is my child is more hands-on than brain, then that's where
You
your
can
child...
correct that as well, yeah.
You don't have to correct it.
But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
Jerry,
it depends
some
on
kids
what the
don't
child-
need to be guided as much as others. You know, I've seen some children, right, who are mature beyond their ages.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
You know, they and their parents are constantly, saying, how blessed they are because their kids are so independent. Their kids know what they want, even from a very young age, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the
yeah.
other C. So that's the fourth C, right? Character. Character. Yeah, so sometimes there are different characters and we need to go with that character and teach different values. But we skipped a couple. So competence, yeah, no worries. I mean, it's all interchangeable. It's within the child, right? And then confidence. So when we look at their competency and we help them nurture that, they acquire skills and they become more and more confident in that area. And then they have the confidence to try new things.
Yeah, and not be afraid of like failing or anything like that.
Exactly. So that too, I lump it together because I think it's very important. But we also want the parents to teach values. So that comes down to the character that you were talking about. So some characters are a little bit, need a little bit more boosting. And that's where the parents can come in and encourage them or to teach them different ways to approach, situations.
Are you born with a character or is character built? Or is it a little bit of both?
The personality is you're born with. Yeah, you can build character over time.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because they always say it builds character,
Yeah,
right?
it builds character.
It builds character. Go
Everything.
shovel the street.
Yeah,
it builds
you don't
character.
build personality.
Okay.
Yeah.
But your personality is a little bit weaved into your character as well, right? Okay.
Okay.
What other C's do you have, Jerry?
Control.
We'll
Control,
get
yeah,
to-
control is
yeah,
one of them.
that is you. That is so you. We'll get to that later. What else
That's
do we
the
have?
last one on
That's
the
the last
list, by the way.
Connection.
Connection.
So connecting with your children, connecting them with the right people, connecting them, with like-minded people. So the connections is the environment, is that, resources that we help build around them or teach them to reach out to resources.
And connecting with them as well, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
that's the first thing
The
that I
first
said.
thing, right? Yeah, connecting
Yeah.
with them,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. We have to connect with them. If we simply approach parenting as a job, that's very sad. And I do know some parents that, I give you the basic needs, I make sure that you go to the best school, I pay for everything. And I have adult children coming and say, actually, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
I'm so distant from my parents. I don't know. I mean, I know that they are mom and dad, but nothing else much I know about them.
Yeah.
And I don't think they know about me.
I think a lot of parents forget that they were kids at once as well,
They do, and it's difficult. I have to stand up for the parents because it's difficult these days when we're chasing down the almighty dollar.
Yeah, and they want to provide the best for their children.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you see.
But here's where it backfires if you don't pull back. I sat through a counseling session once where a child turned to her father and said, "You're my father, but you're not my dad."
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really sad
And
to
he
hear.
just completely broke down.
That's really
He
sad to
never
hear.
realized the damage he had done. He had not realized. And it took years for them to develop a relationship. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
But I mean, I feel that chasing the dollar, like Mark said, and putting the kids in the best schools and putting a roof over the head has nothing to do with the connection with the child. I mean, you can be busy.
Yeah.
You can be doing all that. You can be building the perfect life, but that has got nothing to do with how you lose connection with the child, right?
Effort lah. This is effort.
It's just it's like and that maybe you only have 5 minutes to spend with the kid at the end of the day, or maybe you only have half an hour, but it's what you do with that time. Do you sit on your phone? Or do you watch TV, or do you speak to your child and say tuck them into bed, or have a meal with them? It's what you choose to do with that free time, right?
True. And I'll share, this all happened, so I'll share two stories. Later on, I'll share another part of it. But both of these happened in the pool with my little girl. And it was just a few days ago. And I hate getting into the pool because I hate wearing a swimsuit.
Okay, fair enough.
I feel like pushing you into a pool.
Terrible.
Very naughty.
Terrible.
And for the longest time, for many, 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 many years, right, I have gone in the pool. So on the day, I decided, okay, poor thing, like these children, HBL and everything. So I'll get into the pool with the little girl. But I walked in the pool. So I didn't swim. I just don't like. So I just walked in the pool and played with the kids. And I paced with my little girl. And after a while, I think after half an hour, she turned to me and said, "Mommy, you're the only person that listens to me in the pool." because brother and father would go down, right? But they would be busy doing laps and doing their own things. And this silly mummy who doesn't like to swim just walks with her, right? And she would do her little stunts. She would tell me little stories. She would, and then it's so hilarious. And she's quite a joker. I would just laugh at her, or I'll just like look at her. And I was just there with her without realizing that I was there with her. And that was what she said, it's so nice because you listened to me. I was like, oh my God, you mean mommy didn't listen to you for the rest of the time?
But it helps, you don't have your phone with you. You don't have any other distractions. You're just with
Exactly.
your child,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And she recognized that and she felt it and she verbalized it. And I thought it was such a beautiful moment.
Yeah. So it's something that you've done right, raising her, raising your son, that perhaps maybe other people
Can learn from.
can learn from because they're not getting it. You see, you said your daughter is a happy child.
Yeah.
Right? She's happy. There are many parents who have brooding kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Like if I had a kid who was in a bad mood half the time, I'll say, get out of my sight, lah. Go somewhere else.
and
Because
this will definitely help with their mood.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'cause-
I mean, the kid needs to make you happy as well. You've done everything. You've raised the kid. Why is the kid unhappy all the time?
But that's what Jerry is saying. She connected with her daughter in
Yeah.
the pool. You probably, I don't know, don't get a lot of moments. I don't know how you raise your children, but it sounds like
No,
your daughter's a joker. You said she sounds like a happy kid, and she sounds like a verbal child, which is great. She managed to tell you how she felt and how appreciative she was of your time with her.
Yeah.
Yes,
So what
yes.
did you do to connect? I'm one of the C's, right? Because obviously you have a connection with your
Yeah.
kids.
Well, it really is just the time for her, right? Giving her that time. And I have to say it because Glenn says it like I'm so perfect. I'm not.
Because
Nobody is, nobody is.
plus
No.
you're busy.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
busy, but you've still made that connection with your kids. So how did you do it?
Yeah. So at that moment, it was, that understanding that, hey, is it time that I did not give the kid? Do they need more
20
time?
seconds.
Yeah. Just listening to her. Not just hearing, but listening to each thing and responding.
Okay, I'm going to ask you that question again, Jerry. We're going to go for a traffic break, okay?
Okay.
On your Wi-Fi as well. Woo, okay.
Yeah.
Stand by.
Good morning and welcome to The Big Show and TheBigShow.tv. Now, TheBigShow.tv, of course, is our Facebook page, TheBigShow.tv. We have Dr. Geraldine Tan from the therapy room with us, and we're talking about how to make your kids a little bit more resilient. Now, earlier on, we were talking about some parents, perhaps, who may not have made the connection with their kids.
Yes.
And as a result of that, the relationship between, the parents and the kids may be strained, so to speak. But I was also pointing out to Jerry that she has a wonderful relationship with her daughter and her son, and all this despite being really, really busy. Now, Jerry comes across to me as a workaholic.
Yeah,
But-
to a degree, yes.
But she's managed to connect with her children,
Yeah.
and I'm sure your husband is quite busy as well, right? But you guys have a fantastic relationship with your kids, and your kids are happy children. How did you manage to pull that off?
Okay, so I don't know if I spend enough time. You have to ask my children that, but we all try to spend as much time together as possible, recognizing the character. So earlier we spoke about character, right? Yeah. So recognizing the character, permitting them to explore things their way. So I think that was another thing I was very cognizant about. I think in the pool, so if those of you who heard the pool story, right, I was just thinking about it, and one of the other factors to help resilience is to be able to laugh and to laugh at oneself. And that was what my little girl was just doing. It's just to look at herself, be silly, be crazy, to laugh at herself, and to permit me into that space and laugh at her and with her. Yeah, so I think that I think that was really precious.
So does connecting with your child basically boil down to time spent with the child?
Time
Quality
spent, how you spend your time, how you connect with your child, are we there trying to tell them, don't do this, don't do that? Are we trying to stop certain behaviors rather than permit certain behaviors? So certainly in the pool, I was not doing that. And I didn't consciously realize that I was not doing that. I didn't say, don't dive. I didn't say, don't stop doing that. That would have ruined that whole connection and the moment, with her.
Jerry, I want to ask you a question. I'll answer the question from my point of view later, but it's a question brought up by Matthew when it comes to parenting. He says perhaps what parents need help in is to close the chapter of their own upbringing. Many parents' styles are influenced by how they were parented. Do you find that you're influenced by how you were parented, the way you parent your child?
We all have that as a template, and we start with that template. Then we look at what we want to improve on, what we want to tweak, which are the parts that would benefit us and had benefit us, and then we take it with us. So we don't write it off completely. We should not write it off completely, because whatever that happens in our life is our experiences, and we should keep them. We shouldn't just write them off. Then what does that mean? Our childhood is a sham, We should not dismiss our childhood at all, but instead learn from it, right?
Right, absolutely. We are speaking to Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. We'll continue this conversation live on thebigshow.tv. Meantime, here's Whitney Houston. I'm Every Woman on The Big Show, 1FM 91.3.
Yeah, so I was asking whether you were influenced by your parenting, or is your parenting influenced by the way you were parented? And you said we shouldn't let go of that. I remember that when I became a parent, the first thing I did was I sat down and I tried to remember how my parents brought me up. And I specifically wanted to pick out what I thought was wrong. To make
Spoiling you.
No, yes, absolutely.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure that I didn't fall into those traps. And I had a ridiculously privileged and spoiled childhood, and I didn't want that for my children.
But you had an overall privileged, good childhood with happy memories?
Not always happy.
Yeah, I mean, not
always happy.
Not everyone's
But I didn't want my specifically the spoiling, the
giving them everything they want.
Too privileged a lifestyle. It wasn't whether I could afford it or not. I just felt it didn't help me. The privileged lifestyle did not help me.
But you see how tricky this is? You see, he had everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everything as in material
Relative,
things.
Yeah.
But he's still, looking back and going like, okay, I'm not really happy. People like me who didn't have very much growing up, I wish I had those material things.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming my parents for not being rich or anything like that, but I wish I had those things. But you, having had those things, are now saying
it didn't really count.
Yeah.
But what about, these are pretty okay, regular kind of upbringings. What about people who were brought up in terrible environments? People who are brought up in abusive environments, how do they then draw on whatever it is they can draw on and bring their children up? No happy memories, nothing,
So if we look at your last two C's, there is coping and there is control. So how do we problem solve and deal with our environment? We've learned over the years, and our experiences has shaped us. And what kind of options are we given? So that's the control bit. Hi, Julian.
Hi, good morning.
That was a question for you, Julian.
Yep. So that's coping and control,
Okay.
problem solving, and options that are given.
So for someone who comes out of a relationship of a childhood that's not so great and then has children of their own, then they just try and pick good stuff up that they've heard of. They try and pick good parenting tips up from friends or family.
They would have resilience if they get to that point already. So they would know certain problem solving skills. They would know how to look for resources. What are the options that they have? It's not one method to live life, but many different methods. I mean, many different ways to get to the destination.
Okay, the spoiled child has a question.
Yes,
Go
the
ahead.
child has a question. Jerry, this
Yes.
is something I did with my kids, and I really want an honest answer from you, whether I was right or wrong. I have always taught my children, if they do not understand a particular instance of parenting, whether it is discipline or giving in to them or whatever it may be, if you don't understand, question me about it. It goes back to the communication. I wanted that kind of communication. So I have disciplined you for something you don't understand it. Ask me so I can explain why you're being disciplined. Or I've given you something and you feel, where the hell did I get that? Ask me. Was I right or wrong to allow my children to question my parenting skill?
FD, you know, after so long that I don't give straight answers, and then I'll answer it this way. Your children have turned out fantabulously.
How do you know?
Because they all look after me.
They have.
So you have done the right thing, and I always want to encourage every parent. We do things with the best of intentions. You know, we look for different ways to try different and to try different methods, but it's only because we want the best for our children.
Okay.
So no straight answer, but
damn.
I think you
Damn.
already got your answer in your in
your
how your
head.
children,
Yeah.
your children are.
Because we do have a very open
Yeah.
communication.
It's not.
with kids
It's not
and
a
I.
simple thing, you know. I mean, parents are the most extraordinary people. I always say,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm not a parent, but I'm
can
still very
imagine.
thankful
Yeah.
to my parents. You know, although they were hardly perfect parents, and I think most parents feel like they want to do the absolute best for their kids, but sometimes, you know, when their kids grow up and you know, they talk about it again, you know, they'll suddenly find out like, oh, maybe
you
I was
didn't
lacking
like-
in this
yeah,
area,
yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and I
you
didn't
do.
know it,
Yeah.
You do
you know,
feel
so
that sometimes.
things like that,
And it's
so,
a constant learning journey. You
It is.
never
Yeah.
stop learning or discovering things that
you know, if I
could
would
have
ask my
done.
mom, right, you know, she will always go like, you know what, I had no idea how, you know, your brother and yourself were going
Turned
to
out
turn
the
out,
way-
but I prayed every single day. You know, she's very big on prayer. She's like, you know, I've prayed for my sons, and I'm so glad that they turned out, you know, fine. You know, so it's not so much
I don't know.
her; it was God.
I think my daughter hates me.
That, you know what, Julian? That only means that she loves you because you cannot hate on its own.
Then
That only means
she's
she
too
loves-
young for you to draw that
Yeah.
conclusion.
No,
How old is she?
She's 2.5.
That's why
You know,
hates you.
just because she pees on your t-shirt doesn't mean she hates you.
She comes to me and she says things like, I don't want Papa.
Oh.
I don't want Papa to carry. And then she goes to my wife and she says, I want Mama to carry. And it's...
You
and
know
it-
why, right? Because Mama's giving her the sweets. That's why.
You forget you have to have the chocolate in your pocket.
That's the thing. I'm the one buying her jelly beans. I'm the one buying her sweets. And she goes to Mama
Tough
instead
love,
of
tough
me.
love.
So I don't know, man. That's,
You
I
gotta have a
think
closer
she-
look. How is Mama carrying her? Maybe it's the, you know, it's the way she's carrying.
You know what? Kids
Carrying
go
her.
through different phases. By next
Yeah.
week, she's going to be like, Daddy, I want you, or I don't want Mama to put me to sleep and stuff like that.
true.
They go through phases.
I hope.
Children connect with parents differently. Julian, you should go and ask her, okay, okay, you want mama to carry, what do you want daddy to do? And she might be able to tell you that.
Yeah, I actually said that. I
And?
actually asked her that in the bedroom. I wanted to put her to bed, and she told me, "Say no, Papa, get out. I want Mama to pet. I want Mama to pet me." And I just, okay, then I just walked out.
Well, maybe not when she's going to bed. Like during the day. Like, hey, so what can I do for you? What's up? You know?
You just take out the bed and say, Papa paid for the bed, so you got no bed, you cannot sleep how?
All I can say is things will only get better
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
You know what? I can only pray.
Julian,
There you
Julian, she's 2.5. Wait till she gets to 13.5.
I'll give you my mom's number. You text her. You know? How did she pray? How long did she pray?
What did she pray? Who did she pray to?
Send you a rosary. You know?
I'm gonna let Julian take the floor. I actually got 3 pages. I only completed 1 page. Can you imagine?
This is what happens when you talk to us.
Wow. we can continue this next
Next
week.
week, we
yeah.
can do part 2.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
For sure.
Sure. And for resilience, I've got a quote from Rumi, a poet, you know, and I think it capitalizes or encapsulates rather what resilience is. The wound is the place where the light enters you. The wound is the place where the light enters you.
I love
It puts
Rumi.
things in a different perspective.
Right. So you
Bring
got to go through
positive
pain.
in.
Like, it's painful.
No. Bring
but,
positivity in as well
yeah, like,
through
correct.
your
It's-
pain. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna leave all of you and we can discuss more parenting and more resilience next week.
We will.
So cute, your fringe today. It meant, at certain points you look like Supergirl.
It's getting in my eye.
You still look beautiful, don't worry. All right, have a wonderful day, Jerry. We'll see you next week.
Have a good day off tomorrow. Bye.
Ciao, Jerry.
Hey, happy in advance.
Happy
you.
birthday. Yeah.
His birthday is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.